Good afternoon, good evening to all. Again, welcome to another tropical update from Cayman Hurricane Center. Again, we're closely monitoring at this time Hurricane Ernesto, which, after moving through the western main development region and through the Leeward Islands, onwards to the British and US Virgin Islands, passing near Puerto Rico, it's now made its way over to the southwest North Atlantic. Starting to lift northwards, has strengthened to a hurricane and en route to Bermuda. We are expecting further strengthening here of our Hurricane Ernesto, and we could be seeing the system potentially get to near major hurricane status, if not major hurricane status, before arriving to Bermuda. We do note that some weakening is expected as it starts to make its approach to Bermuda. So we're not necessarily looking at a major hurricane for Bermuda, but a pretty strong Category 2 hurricane, certainly possible for Bermuda. So, folks, just looking at the latest advisory here for our Hurricane Ernesto, as of advisory cycle 26-168. 9, about 495 miles southwest of Bermuda. Winds are at 85. The movement is generally to the north, now a little bit more east of due north to north-northeast at 13, a pressure of 972. Of course, hurricane warning is in effect for Bermuda, and we could see this highlighted here in red. Bermuda being under a hurricane warning at this time. Of course, we are expecting that hurricane conditions will be in Bermuda on Saturday. Of course, tropical storm conditions expected to arrive earlier on Friday afternoon, Friday evening time frame here, folks. Again, we could see here the earliest, most likely, really, time of arrival of tropical storm force winds for the island of Bermuda is expected on Friday at 8 p.m. And, of course, folks, we could be seeing again where the Canadian Maritimes may not necessarily, maybe on the outskirts, maybe getting winds gusting to, but of course this will be a very large system as it gets up here. But again, time frame for the Canadian Maritimes for that potential. Not necessarily saying that they will be getting storm force winds, but there is that potential there. Late Sunday into Monday morning, and then through Monday evening is when we're expecting that for the Canadian Maritimes there, or just offshore in the offshore waters of the Canadian Maritime. So, folks, again, our hurricane here, 60 miles from the center, hurricane force winds with tropical storm force winds is 265 miles from the center. You can see this here marked out on the map here. Red is our hurricane force winds. The yellow or orange here is our tropical storm force winds. Of course, as the system pulls up, we are expecting it to grow in size, and it'll become quite a very large cyclone as it gets here near the Canadian Maritimes and then moving out into the north central Atlantic. In terms of impacts, again, I already mentioned the wind conditions, storm surge, very dangerous storm surge expected to produce significant coastal flooding in Bermuda and areas of onshore wind, especially near the coast. And it will be accompanied by large waves. Now, swells generated by Ernesto are impacting the Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, will be affecting Bermuda later today. The U.S. East Coast and the Canadian Maritimes will be getting in on those swells as well as we progress through the weekend. So we'll be watching that as we go forwards here, folks. Now, looking at the just before this system moving through the Leeward Islands. We note here we could see the radar imagery here passing through the Leeward Islands, and then onwards towards the British and US Virgin Islands, and then crossing just north of Puerto Rico. And we could see that large fetch of moisture on the southeastern side that had caused quite a bit of flooding event there for Puerto Rico. So indeed, even before we got to this point here, quite an impactful cyclone to the Caribbean Islands. And we note definitely a lot of impacts to the British territories this storm seems to be setting up. Again, the British overseas territories here in the Leeward Islands, the British Virgin Islands, and then also, again, Bermuda, which is, again, British overseas territory. And then looking at the extended forecast here, folks, even as a post-tropical cyclone, we are expecting it to eventually move into the United Kingdom, which, again, you could be looking out for some stormy conditions there as we go about a week out or so, potentially getting into UK waters, and then to mainland UK, obviously Ireland first, and then mainland UK. So we'll be watching that closely. So just quickly coming back to Bermuda here, messages from the Bermuda government here with the updates. This is the latest from the Ministry of National Security. Causeway will be closed 10 p.m. Friday and all day Saturday, obviously under hurricane conditions at that time. Public Works will assess the structure on Sunday, and the government will be looking at reopening once deemed safe to do so. The government is strongly urging everyone to be off the roads by 7 p.m. on Friday to ensure safety. Of course, in addition to that, sections of South Road in Smith's Parish between Watch Hill Park and John Smith's Bay will be closed Friday 10 a.m. Folks, especially in Bermuda, the emergency radio station 100.1 FM will begin broadcasting regular announcements from 8 p.m. Friday onwards. In addition to this here, folks, bus services for all routes will be suspended from 8 p.m. Friday, and the last bus will run from 7 p.m. There will be no bus services on Saturday, obviously under hurricane conditions. There will be no ferry services Friday, with, of course, last ferry departing 4 p.m. today. In actuality, that service has already taken place at this point in time. Government offices will close at 4 p.m. Friday, and of course, last customer to be served by 3 p.m. The emergency shelter at Cedar Bridge Academy will open 6 p.m. Friday, will remain open until conditions allow for safe closure. In particular, vulnerable citizens, including seniors without adequate shelter, is to make use of facility. Lamb and Fogo Urgent Care Centre, St. David's, will be operational from 8 p.m. on Friday, but will close once Causeway is reopened. The Bermuda Regiment, Royal Bermuda Regiment, will be active on Friday evening to provide support and manpower as needed during the storm. And the International Airport LF Wade will be closed 8 p.m. on Friday. Passengers should check with their respective airlines for statuses of their flights. Also, folks, would like to mention here the Royal Navy HMS Trent is currently in the British Virgin Islands in Tortola at the moment, producing HADAR operations, humanitarian aid and disaster relief. Likely after they complete their missions for the British Virgin Islands and the British Overseas Territories and Leewards, they'll probably make their way to Bermuda again to supplement the Royal Bermuda Regiment in HADAR missions in Bermuda once that conditions clear for Bermuda. Again, folks, we'll have another update as well. We got a few other things that are going to be coming on board here as we go forwards in time, folks. So we'll be doing another update a little later on tonight. That's all from me, Cayman Hurricane Center.